bear with me for 1 second and I'll just find the presentation and then we'll start. Where are we? Just going to find the presentation and start the morning. Actually, just bear with me for 1 second. Where are we? Just 1 second, I'll just bring the presentation up, then we'll start. I do apologize. Share screen, where is this thing?
Brian, I have just emailed you a copy that Josh sent me, if that helps you.
Oh, that's kind. No, I've got it here. I just need
lovely.
to share it. All right, I think we can start, if everyone's okay. Can you see that? Benita, can you see that?
Yep, all you need to do is to go into slideshow. Yep, that's perfect.
Brilliant. Apologies for the delay and good morning, everybody. It's lovely to be here. Brian Walker, Retail Doctor Group. Today, we're going to move into our second session on our retrain for the retail revolution in the Retail Doctor Group Fit for Business series. So delighted to be with you and thank you very much for joining. Today, we're going to talk about two areas that are very related. One is around visual impact, and that's really around how to encourage people to visit our shop, to walk off the high street into our shop. We have 3 seconds generally to tell people what we're all about in our windows and our in-store displays and encourage that peel off into the store. So we're going to talk about some business fitness tips in that area. Then I want to talk a little bit about the way we lay shops out, the way that we allow customers to navigate through our business. Now, one tip is, of course, that we don't really allow, for want of a better word, customers just to walk wherever they want in our shops. What we do is we've got some methodology and some science to the way we want customers to walk around our shop and walk through our shop and walk past our displays. And I'll touch a little bit on category management in that session. And then, of course, imagine going on a holiday, as I think I touched on in strategy, and not knowing quite what our destination is. So in the same spirit, we're going to have a look at how we build our sales and service model within our store. That is, how we look at the KPIs, the key performance indicators in our retail store, and how we can lift that business. You see, it's not always about selling more to new customers. It's often about selling more to existing customers. So we'll talk about that as well. So as you recall, we're saying we really want to have good practical sessions. I'm very happy to take questions through the chat. We're going to talk a little bit about how we're going to build these business fitness and build your future in your retail business. So it's great to be with the Wimmera team, and let's talk. As we talked about in the first session, we really looked at this concept of planning and strategy. The idea that a good business is like reading a book from the back to the front. It's always thinking about what's my end goal each year. Am I lifting sales? Am I lifting margin? What am I focusing on? And what ultimately is going to be the value of my business? And one thing I love to do is to say to clients and any business, imagine you were buying your own business. What would you be buying? So remember, we went through that. Good independent ownership, good clear point of difference, good unique product strategy, great local marketing, positive cash flows, profitability ideally, and building that business so that someone like you or someone like myself could come in and buy your business. We also looked at how to set that website up because we talked about omni-channel retail, having your shop and having a website, and how the two work together. And of course, we talked about the growth of social media. But today, I'm really excited to present visual impact and effective people. So thank you for joining. This slide really is talking a little bit about what I've just recapped on, but it is very important to be building that relationship with your customer. If you don't have a database, and we'll talk a little further into the series about databases, but if you don't have a database, I do encourage you to have one. I'd get, good knowledge on your top 100 customers, really understanding, and some businesses, even send birthday cards out, building that relationship, building that story. All right, so let's start by how to build great visual merchandising displays. I suppose the first thing, of course, is to understand what is visual merchandise. Well, really, it's our silent salesperson. And the element that compose the store environment really are around our store layout, our walking patterns, our product positioning, and of course, our visual displays. It's really the presentation of a store and it's merchandise in order to sell the goods and services of the store. What we do know is that 80% of purchases are impulse. And so what we want to do is put the best product we can at the highest possible gross profit that we can, in danger of being sold. And we know that customers make that final decision to buy in the last 3 feet. So the ability to walk past your window, go, wow, look at that. And then what we call peel off into the shop. It is important because as the silent salesperson, it is really saying, this is what we have. This is why we're unique. This is why we're great. Now, a few little pointers here. Obviously, we want to create interest. We do want to attract our customers. We want to make it easy selection for the customer. We want to promote stock, obviously maximize sales. And also, you'll recall from the first session, project that store image. Why am I unique? Why am I different? And also to assist, which we'll touch on, in add-on sales, building our merchandise adjacencies, you'll hear me talk about, and how we communicate this to the customer. One thing I see often in windows, particularly in windows of retail shops, is that there's a human and natural compulsion to almost be all things to all people, put a lot of stock and a lot of content on show in that window. One of the first business tips around visual merchandising is that less is more. You're much better to make powerful statements and have less in your windows so that the eye is drawn and people can understand. The more we put in the window, the more signage we have in stores, the more ticketing that everyone puts in stores, the more we confuse people. Remember that 3-second rule. When you stand outside your shop, is your message very clear? I used to work for this chap and he used to talk about windows being the stage curtains to the theater of your business. And ultimately, it's your first point of communication to a customer. Trying to make them interesting, exciting, fun, update them. If you're in the fashion business, you should really be changing them about 46 to 48 times a year. So as you come closer to Christmas, naturally once a week, the quieter months you can pull back a little bit and have fun, create some theater. And if you've got team members in the staff that have a bit of a flair for this, encourage it. They're motivated and it creates difference. And particularly, in towns where a lot of our customers are the same and similar people, they want to see that change. Do make a statement in your windows. That's important as well. When you look at really great windows, for example, you see that they're making a great statement. Have fun, be innovative, And consider, am I using that window space that you pay rent on and the ends of your gondola bays and your store to its best advantage? Now, I touched earlier about focus. So here's Lego, for example. Now, we've got really 3 central elements in that window. Now, what I'll also say is that the pyramid display in a window, and this is broadly a pyramid, is the most effective. That is, we've got a wide base, and then we move our way up to the apex or the point. And that is how we humanly look at objects. We tend to look from the left to the right, and then we move our eyes upwards. So that's what we wanted to be doing in our window displays. We talk about a concept in window displays called dominance. So attractive displays have a center of attention or dominance to which the viewer's eye is drawn and held. Often you're better with 3 great products in your store, in your window, forming that pyramid display than you are with 10 or 12. Because again, remember, we don't have a lot of time to understand what you're doing. And so we want to see it strong, dominant in the center. If you walk out to your shop after today and you see that you've got 15 or 20 items in your store window and it's busy, then from this, I would say to you, simplify it. The other thing about visual merchandising is apples with apples. If you've got a great product, promote it in your shop, have it tied in to a display in the store. So people look at your shop window, see it, and then look at the product in the shop. That's effective. And also think about balance. A balanced display, whilst it should be centered and dominant, should have an equilibrium or a balance between the elements. Proportion is the third element. It's the effective arrangement of parts of displays in terms of the display elements. So we like to look at things like color, and I'll touch on color blocking shortly, and the psychology of color for that matter. But essentially, if you're going to display with color, try to bring color from dark at one end to lighter at the other. Line is the layout of small objects to larger objects. That's that pyramid display. Have a bit of a think about the texture of your products, the shape. Typically, round and square objects work well together. And of course, it's fine to create open space. In fact, we encourage it. I talk a little bit about these display arrangements. So the 4 that we typically talk about the most are the pyramid. That's number 1. That's the most straightforward. The zigzag, the step, and the fan. So, as I touched on earlier, ladies and gentlemen, the pyramid. This is the triangular display of merchandise in vertical or non-vertical. And the key point is that you're building a pyramid with your display. And so larger items are placed at the base and the smaller items at the apex. And as you recall me saying, we look at this visually from the left to the right and then up. And now when you're looking at windows of retailers as you go about your business, you'll see the ones that build the pyramids. It's quite straightforward and very effective. The zigzag. This is the merchandise zigzag, as the shape shows you, which has a merchandise zigzag its way to the apex of the display. So no 2 displays at the same height. What's interesting here is it creates good movement and the eye is drawn again upwards. So that can be very effective. The step. I saw a good example of this in a plumbing and hardware shop the other day. And here it is with the taps. They tend to lead the eye in a direct line. They begin at a low point on one side of the display area and progress directly to a higher point, like steps, on the opposite side of that area. So you're stepping it up. And again, you can see, as I can see, our eyes drawn upwards to the step. And as we go up through the steps. Now these These three really have one thing in common. They're taking us from the base to the apex by the pyramid, the zigzag, or the step method. And typically, if you're starting off in this, pyramid is often the one to work with the most. This is the fan. Again, the eye is drawn upwards and outwards, and it's a fan arrangement, so it spreads up and out from a smaller base. Very good for in-store displays, gondola displays, end of bay displays, grouping of like merchandise. And your hero product should always be near the top, because that's where we tend to center most of our attention with the fan display. I don't use it a lot in windows. We use it more in the in-store displays. I mentioned working with color and the psychology of color. Let's spend a couple of moments here because color is really interesting. If we're a retailer that uses a lot of red in your windows and in your shop displays, it's really used as the psychology of red is that it's a call to action. And that's why you see it with sale, 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 buy now. Teamed with white, it actually represents romance. There you are. And with black, it's more of an assertive dominant color. But the first point is that red is very much the action sale, sale, sale. So you'll typically see that obviously at sale time, you'll see it around counters. You'll see it where there's a quick transactional sale. But for example, if you use blue a lot in your colors, you're promoting tranquility, precision, and it's more of a thinking sort of, you're asking people to slow down. You're asking them to think of your product as being very sort of, for want of a better term, intellectual and precise. So it's more of a methodical color in that sense. Green is interesting. Green, and particularly lighter greens, are used where we want customers to relax and to be calm. So you often see green or colors in green used in furniture, for example, where it's a very considered purchase. And we want people to just calm down and reflect. It's also a very fertile and positive color. And naturally, it's often used in health food and businesses where it's about wellness. If you want vibrancy, energy, and fun, yellow it up a bit. So that's more about creativity, positive energy, and so forth. And orange is really very much around fun, warmth, and pleasure. It stimulates mental activity. So energy drinks, for example, and where you want more sort of energy and activity. And purple, as we've moved through them all, is about luxury products and interestingly, appealing to ladies more. It's a little bit more of an exclusive color. So these colors are important to have a good understanding of for your window displays, your in-store displays, the color and layout of your shops, and what it is you're trying to do and attract with your color. And of course, we touched on this last time, but it's important to recall. When we talked in the first session, we talked about uniqueness, strategy, point of difference. Your shop windows and your store design are really the expression of your uniqueness, of your point of difference. They do need to be appealing. Lighting is important. I can't underestimate that. If you want people to slow down, consider their purchase, take time, dim your lighting slightly. If you want them around the cash register area to transact, move quickly, bring your lights up. Front of the shop should always have good lighting, particularly windows. I can't tell you the number of times I've strolled into a shop and I look at the windows and I see a light out. Do engage your lighting, and particularly on high streets where the sunlight or the lux level is always generally higher than artificial lighting. And that can have the effect of glossing out windows. So you do need powerful lighting in your windows. That I'll touch on, but this concept of being able to walk in and come out at a different point in your shop, being able to walk through the categories and being able to get a bit of a journey in your shop is also important. And so when we talk about hot spots, warm spots, cold spots, consider your destination product and your impulse product. In your windows, as we touched on, be impactful. And when you're standing outside your shop, or anyone's shop for that matter, ask yourself a question. What do you want me to buy? And the second question is, where do you want me to go in this shop? Because you control the navigation, not the other way. It's up to you as a retailer to take your customer on a very deliberate, methodical journey. Store layout. There's three areas we talk about in a store. There's hot spots, warm spots, and cold spots. Hot spots are the entrance and payment areas. They receive the most traffic, and they should be where you have your new season lines, your new hot product at eye level. Eye level is buy level is still a good adage to have. And I think I mentioned, but 75% of customers walk to the left when they walk into your shop. So that immediate space on the left around that window is your hot spot. It's not generally where you put discount items, unless of course you're on sale. Warm spots, as you would expect, are just beyond the hot spots. They're the middle section of your business typically. They're your secondary traffic areas, product above and below eye level. And we're moving from impulse to destination. Now, your destination is known as your cold spot. So if you're Just Jeans, for example, you'll see that they've got their Levi 501s at the back of the shop. They've got their black and white t-shirts at the back of the shop because they're known for those products. And that is their destination product. So have a bit of a think about, well, what is my destination product and what is my impulse product? And have I got them in the right spots? Now, for example, if you're a fashion retailer and you're known for a certain range of products, like the Just Jeans example, you may well have your product at the back of the shop that you're known for, your example of those black and white t-shirts. And you'll have them at the back because customers will find you for that. They know you for that. Your new seasonal product goes to the front window. That's your hot spot. And do take a bit of a step outside your shop, have a cup of coffee and watch the way customers are walking your shop. What we need to make sure of is that we're not just seeing customers do business in the first 20% of the shop, but really walking through your shop and doing a figure eight or coming in at one point, coming out at a slightly different point and walking the shop. Now, if you find that your customers aren't walking your shop, then we need to think about what's my strategy for opening up the shop? How am I going to get people to the back of the shop? Because they need to see everything you have on sale and everything that's great about your business. Now, merchandise in most stores can be broken down, but each component can be really thought about in terms of, do I have a good history and knowledge of my best sellers, my high profit items? Now, remembering, of course, that they are typically in the front of the store because they're your new season. They are opening up at your prime margin, your highest price. You haven't had to discount or mark down in any way. And this is your new product that you're on show with. Have you got a bit of a strategy for your problem stock that hasn't sold, marking down? You could put a rack out the front if you wanted to. I tend to try and get people to the back of the store where you've got specials bay, a clearance bay, for example. Have you got a good understanding of your basic stock, your impulse lines, those front lines, your specialty goods? Are you promoting seasonally? If you're in the business that sells umbrellas, are you watching the rain and putting a bucket of umbrellas at the front of the store when it starts to rain? And if you're advertising product in press or social media, do make sure you've got good depth and you've got them prominently displayed. I talked about the prime real estate in your store as the 20-foot semicircle just inside the front door. Now, if your eye standing where that red box is it's really that area to the front. And actually, as we walk out to the left, and you should be able to see a light a circle there. That really is prime real estate. And that's great for that new season hot product. But again, we want to be bringing people back through to the focus areas. We want to have a look at walking products. We want to have a look at thinking and watching the way our customers walk our shop and where we put our central counter, where we put our fixtures, all plays a part because that all determines navigation. But the single fitness tip is that you determine it and you walk your customers the way you want them to walk, seeing your entire range of merchandise. Sometimes I'll stand at the front of a store and I won't be able to see the back of the store. We always want to make ourselves look bigger than we are, and we want to make ourselves look more impactful. So that's why you'll see in many retailers, and fashion comes to mind, the rear of the shop is a big graphic display or a big sign or something that draws your eye to the rear of the shop. When I'm standing at that line at the front of the shop, and I'm answering that question about what it is you want me to buy, my eyes will go down the left-hand side of the store to the rear of the store and then back out again. So I am navigating my way through as a customer. If you block the rear of the store by having racks and gondolas that are too busy, too full, too high, you minimize the size of your store, you minimize the impact, and you send a message to me as a customer that's a bit confusing. It needs to make real clarity to me as a customer. So do make sure you've got good line of sight to the rear of your shop. I touched on this earlier, hot spots, warm spots and cold spots. Have a think about that in terms of your strategy of layout and the way that you're merchandising your shop. I touched on this a little earlier, but the name of the game, of course, is to sell product at the highest possible profit in the shortest time. So, and don't be scared to move it around a bit within those areas. Just move it around, make it a little bit different, style it with like product. Put it, if it's a slightly lower merchandise profit, it's more of a loss leader, mix it in with high profit goods. And that's a classic strategy for supermarkets. They might put their tomatoes on half price, but be assured anything that goes with tomatoes will be full price and full margin next to it. Do take that customer on a journey. And it's an important journey because you want them to see everything you have to show and sell. Now, this is what I'm just briefly calling the use of data. Next week, we're going to talk a lot more about category management and inventory management because that is critical to your business. But one thing I do like to look at is simply to understand my categories within my business. And I like to have a look at what were the sales in that category as a percentage of overall sales. And is that relevant and is it in equilibrium with my stock holding and my space on the floor? We'll get into that next week in more detail. But for now, I like to see if those categories are up or down, as this is showing us. Are my year-to-date numbers good in this category? And have I got good growth overall? So are those categories working for me? So I might look at this mythical example and go, oh, that's interesting. Our electrical business could be a bit stronger. So then I look at the category of electrical. Are we displaying it well? Have we got good product range? Have we got good depth on the key lines? Have we got out of stocks we have to deal with? Has a competitor opened up and is doing electrical in a stronger way? Have I got a good database of customers around electrical? Is it in the right position in the store? Should I move it? This data helps us understand and navigate that mix. Excuse me. And so we're building our salesperson, if you like, our silent salesperson. We're using the product strategically. We're building great displays, and we're navigating customers through the business the way we want them to be navigated. And we're considering our zones in the store between hot spots, warm spots, and cold spots. And I think that's really important. I know for many years that working that space is so vital. And it can be the difference between 20% up and 20% down. And by the way, you remember we touched on the measurements of the business. This is an important aspect because we need to measure what we manage. And so I'm going to talk a little bit now about building sales and service levels within our business model. Something we call effective people. You know, when we have a little bit of money in the bank or we make an investment, we generally know the return on our investment. And our people who work for us that are passionate, motivated, switched on, and do a wonderful job for us are also an investment for our business. And so let's have a look at our effective people. It is important, ladies and gentlemen, that below that uniquely differentiated, wonderful brand experience and magnificent layout and shop is a retailer that knows the numbers, because the numbers are at the engine of the business. So today, just briefly, we're going to talk about key performance indicators. And for example, a retailer starts always with sales. Measuring sales in the business is number one. At a gross level, have I set a budget? Am I ahead of that budget? Am I ahead of last year? That's the starting position. How are my sales going? But then we want to break it down a little bit further. And the other question to ask yourself is, am I in my business with my team really playing to win? Have I got great focus on lifting sales and lifting margin? Linking it back to my original session last week, have I got a good strategy for this? Have I got goals around the business? Am I trying to do better or beat what I did before? And you remember I talked about goals, but as a refresher, have I got specific, measurable, accurate, realistic, and timely goals, or SMART goals? Because that's also what you want to be sharing with your staff. So the first question is, how's my attitude? Am I playing to win? Now, we've worked with a business recently and we said to focus on the average, I beg your pardon, to focus on, yes, that's right, average transaction value or average sale. And through the strategies that we're going to talk about, they sold more, a little more to the existing customers they had. And that delivered an extra 10% profit to them each week with the same number of customers. So when we look at our sales, we do like to break down and look at average sale. Now, a point of sale system will give you this. Just print out at the end of the day on your Z-Read, and it will give you average transactions, average sales. It's important for a number of reasons. One, you want to sell more to the customers you have. Two, it shows you how well you're laying your shop out and how much your adjacencies are working. And adjacencies, simply put, are your socks with your trousers with your belts. What are my like products that sit next to each other? What are my complementary products in my merchandise displays? Look at also, it talks about how much knowledge do my people have about the products we sell? Can they talk to customers about the features and benefits? Now that could be, frankly, that could be a certain ham in a delicatessen as much as it could be about a dress in a fashion shop. So I do like to have a bit of a look at that. And I also like to have a look at items per sale. Is a customer walking into my shop and buying one product and walking out? Or are they buying two products? Our goal is to sell as many products as we can, without being hard sell, and building our items per sale. And now conversion. Some businesses put cameras in their windows, up high, linked to their point of sale. But if you just looked at your transaction numbers over a period of time and you knew how many customers you were converting at, that's an important metric to keep a hold of. And a really broad one is to look at your conversions through your transaction numbers divided by number of visitors. And I touched on this earlier, but sales performance to target. And also knowing your benchmarks. What is great performance in your sector? If you're in a particular category of retail that turns over a benchmark of $5,000 a square meter and you're doing 4,500, you know that there's opportunity to grow 11 or 12%. So it's important to get a feel for benchmarks and what is great in your sector. And there is a lot of information. We have it. There's also quite a lot online. So you can look simply and say, what sales per square meter should my jewelry shop be doing? And it'll give you a feel for it. And we're going to talk next week more about benchmarks, category management, inventory, and you'll see how that all comes together. And by the way, next week we'll work very strongly to enhance, improve your cash flow. And I think, you sort of draw a line here and say, okay, as a leader, as the boss, am I positively encouraging performance? Have I got some good goals for the business? Is it linked to my end goal? Have I got good motivation going on? Now, by the way, motivation, the ethos of the word motivation is directly linked to goal-directed behavior. Have I got a winning environment, a team environment? Am I giving good feedback and coaching to team members? Am I training them in product and how to serve customers? Have I got good standards around compliance? Do my staff work for me and are they coming to me with ideas about the business and how to improve it? So it does speak to your ability culturally and also within the attitude of your team to go and win those extra sales. It is important to spend a bit of time each week with your team members, coaching and motivating, because they will carry what you want and how you want your business to run in the way that they deal with your customers. So training is very important. And I have to say, if we're going to have good, effective salespeople and service people, they need to know the product intimately. One of the businesses I was running years ago, we used to have startup meetings in the stores, and a new employee or an existing employee would be given a product and they would talk to the team about the features and benefits of that product. So you would know that if they could talk to their team about it, then they'd be fine to talk to a customer. If they couldn't talk to the team members about it, they were never going to be able to talk to customers about it. So what we want is salespeople, service people that are motivated, engaged in their roles, and aligned to your goals. Wages are important to measure. This is one of the reasons I like to look at transaction counts. Have I got the right staff with customers at the right time? Is my busiest time of the day lunchtime? It's also the time when my staff take lunch breaks. What are my zones? How many tasks have I got in the business that point my staff away from their customers? So do have a bit of a think about, have I got my people there? Am I asking them to do stuff like restocking shelves, dusting product, whatever it may be, in the busy times of the day when actually they're startup and wind down type jobs? I'll move a little bit into the metrics now. Now I know we're not running, huge conglomerations, but the principle, no matter where you are and what you're doing in your shops, is to think, okay, how am I going sales per employee? And it's not to beat anyone up about it. It's just to have a simple little record that shows a bit of a view as to who is selling well. and who needs a bit more coaching. The next point is around this little graph here, if I may. Here what we've got is 3 stores, A, B, and C. Now, store A, store B, store C have weekly traffic of 600 people. And store A converts at 15%. So in other words, 90 transactions of that number actually buy product for an average sale of $45. A store B looks at this and says, you know what, I can improve my conversion. So I'm going to focus on training my people on product knowledge. I'm going to look at my layout of my shop. I'm going to have more merchandise and adjacency planning involved. And I'm going to lift that conversion rate to 18%. So another 18 people become customers. That means they haven't gone to competitors, they've bought with you. And here we see a 20% sales increase on the same number of people. Now, store C has a conversion rate of 18% as well, but it thinks, I'm going to lift my average sale. Now, that can be with pricing if you've got advantage and you can move your pricing up a little bit. I'm going to teach my people about product knowledge. I'm going to encourage them to attempt to add on sell. Now, when we get a little further into the program, we'll talk about the steps of a sale. But I can say the questions your staff members ask lead to the add-on sale to follow. And where you see case C, we've got conversion staying at that slightly higher level. But this business has put on an extra average sale of $10, a 22% increase on the same traffic. So how's our maths? $890, I think, greater sales out of the same number of people. So basically another $100,000 a year on the same number of people. So it is important to be considering who do we sell to at the same rate. Well, I used to visit stores quite a lot. Particularly, I'd always walk to the back of the shop into the back room, and people would say, why? You know, and they'd say, oh, it's because you want to see if the shop is organized. And that's true enough. That there's plenty of backup stock, and that's true as well. What I also wanted to see was a bit of a view that said, this is a business that is sales focused. This is a business that has a sales goal. It might even have somewhere in the background a bit of a ready reckoner that goes sales, store average sale, items per sale for employees, store sales per hour. And what it's doing is just looking at performance and where there's opportunity to coach. Now, in this hypothetical example, we see that Wendy's store average sale is below her friends, her team members. Now, there could be a range of reasons for that. Her store items looks pretty good. Her store sales per hour is down a little bit. But I think that what might be happening here is that Wendy is selling people into lower priced items and not selling up. Now that can be down to product knowledge, could be down to her experience, it could be down to it's an easier sale. Don't know, but that's how we start to explore and how we build our sales up. And then when you measure your business, have a bit of a look at things like transactions per hour, items per sale, average dollars per sale, and you start to see and get a feel for, why is my conversion rate a bit low? So low transactions per hour. Sometimes our staff are wonderful. I mean, they're wonderful anyway. Maybe they spend too long with the customer and don't take control of the sale. Maybe they're not focusing on asking people for the sale. Maybe they're not approaching enough customers. When we see low items per sale, that's often lack of confidence in the add-on. It's often lower product knowledge. Sometimes they might not even show the add-on. And when we do our sales and service work, we'll talk about open-ended questions. What, where, why? One of the questions never to ask is, can I help you? And we never ask, can I help you? Because that is a question that is what's called a closed-ended question. It'll be met by yes or no. And when I visit your shops, I'm always love to be engaged by salespeople who are able to, who involve me in a conversation, a relationship. That builds trust, builds rapport, and allows the salesperson to solve your particular need. Sometimes not creating enough value add in the add-ons will give you low items per sale. And sometimes the salesperson will say, oh, what's your budget? That's not a great question either, because it's too low end. It's too, just too low end. What it does is it sets the maximum and no one's going to tell you over the budget. And low average dollars per sale are very similar to low items per sale in the reason. Sometimes our staff are rushed and they'll say, can I help you? Yes, no, and that's it, it's all over. So that will drive a low average dollar. Conversion rate, opening the sale, probing questions, establishing needs, good product knowledge, benefits to the customers we'll touch on, and not asking for the sale are the classic reasons there. So how can we measure this as owners? I want to introduce you to a little bit of a concept called track and train, which is about measure, improve, and reward. So do measure your business in the way that I've talked about. Do coach your people to improve their results and work with them. It's not about beating them up. It's about spending time, understanding the issues and seeing where the gaps are, and then just coaching them to help them. And then it's about recognizing team members who go over and above, teams that go over and above, and have a bit of a reward system. That might be, hey guys, we made budget for the month. Let's go get some pizzas and a beer together. Whatever it is, that's all it takes. Or if someone's got fantastic individual sales, shout them to a movie with their friend or partner. So those little touches that build so much camaraderie and culture, and you've got your people really focused and working for you. So today, ladies and gentlemen, where we started was to use our salesperson, building great visual merchandising displays, great in-store displays, great adjacency displays in your windows and in store. And then really using that product to help navigate your customers through your business, your shop layout, plenty of changes of product as you need to, the idea of high impulse product at the front of the stores, the warm spots, destination spot at the back, good line of sight through your store. When I stand at your lease line, being able to look through your shop, being able to see the navigation, being able to navigate through your shop. If you bring everything out to the front of the shop, you're going to confuse me. The idea is to invite me into your home. And then within 30 seconds of walking into your shop, being approached and acknowledged by really great staff who are focused on solving the customer's problems and opportunities, and in turn have a good way of measuring that performance. And one of the business fitness tips I wanted to make with you today was, yes, concern yourself with attracting new customers, but really do focus on the ones you've got. Because it's interesting, when you look at your transaction counts week in, week out, if you're an established business, they largely don't change dramatically. If something happens in the town that's significant, something material happens that's significant, they will change. But by and large, within about a range of 10%, they typically come up or go down, but they're within that band. And do look at the amount your customers are spending average visit and how many items per sale they're buying. And then address that by those strategies that we've touched on today. Because if you can lift add-ons, lift average sale, lift conversion by 10%, most of your fixed costs of your business and variable costs for that matter are, if you like, amortized against that higher sale value. And that means greater profit. So a greater percentage of that sale drops down to profit. And of course, as you're rotating stock, building displays, doing all that, you're creating energy and interest in your stores. And it gives you strategies for moving your old stock out, but bringing your new fresh stock in. And it is a recycle, restock, reorder business. So you want to get it in, get it out, as we've touched on. And make it interesting for your customers, because they'll talk to one another and they're going to be your greatest advocates. So bringing it all together for today. Visual merchandise, not to be underestimated. Do make those windows strong, simple, powerful. Remember the shapes, pyramid particularly, fan, zigzag, step. But the pyramid is really where you should focus. Less is more. Powerful displays. And when you have a hero product, try not to spread it around the store. Put apples with apples. Build those big, bold statements. Use color, always defining your unique offer, your point of difference. Lead your customers through your store and strategically position your offers along the way. Do use data. You know, there's more asked of retailers now than ever before. And your ability to look at your data, analyze your numbers, have a good record is important. And then using those stats to help make sure your team know their KPIs, working with them to hit their targets, coaching, leading, training, getting your team motivated, really means that you're maximizing the opportunity. If you've got a store, but your windows are the same, we're not moving stock around, our staff aren't particularly motivated or goal-driven, then we're leaving money on the table. So I hope today, ladies and gentlemen, in our session, and Vanetta, I'm not sure if there are any questions, but I hope today helps. And of course, as you hear me say, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, ladies and gents, but rather that is which most adaptable to change. And next week, I am excited. Let me say to you about category cardio. It's all about inventory management. And if you want to improve your cash flow, which is critical for your business, I'm going to teach you some business fitness tips around cash flow management. You can be profitable and go out of business. Good cash flow is at the heart of it. So how do we use our number one working capital investment, our stock, in a way that is productive for us, economical, and drives our profit? How we manage our stock through categories, through our merchandise management, through our aging, stock turn, sell through, all will be revealed. And I love this subject. You know, I've learned more about stock and its power and importance in your business than I ever did being a retailer myself. So I'm excited to see you next week. I'm excited to go through this program. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me today for a session on visual impact and effective people in your retail business as part of retraining for the retail revolution. Brian Walker, Retail Doctor Group, Fit for Business. Thank you. Vanetta.
Thank you, Brian, for another wonderful session. Thanks for all our participants for joining us. I hope you got a lot out of that. There's a lot of information, and I'm sure you can't wait to get back to your businesses and start putting some of these tips and tricks into action. Please share the word, let your colleagues and friends know, even your staff, if you want to get them on board so they can hear it all firsthand. We'd love everyone to join us to get this wonderful information that Brian's providing us. But thanks again, Brian, and we
Thanks,
look forward
Benita.
to seeing you again next week.
Lovely. And if I may, if any of your guests would like to come on to our newsletter, which is complimentary, or if they've got any direct questions, please send an email to Brian, B-R-I-A-N, @retaildoctor.com.au.
Brilliant. Thank you, Brian, and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, Benita. Are you there?